We're now going to move on to the modeling of our character. Our plane is already in place, so we'll start to make some adjustments. Go to the front view, and if you press F3, you'll see default shading instead of just the wireframe. Center the plane. This is the first thing we need to do. Let's center it around here. Great. Now it's centered. On the x-axis, we can start to work with the symmetry. We need to do another step, which we've also seen before, and that is to freeze the two planes so they don't get in the way. Select them and go to Object Properties. Select Freeze and remember to unselect Show Frozen in gray, so you can see the material applied. Okay. Now we can't select the plane, but we can work on it, so let's get to it. We'll begin by creating the head of the character. Create a box that's more or less the size you want the head to be. Go to the side view. Always when modeling, you need to consider the front and the side, the two angles. Adjust the cube to the head of the character. Remember that using different views is always useful, but sometimes you need to create them yourself or search for references online to help you. Let's leave it like that, more or less. We'll add the Edit Poly directly onto our box. Press F4 to see the wireframe we're working on. Activate it here too, and we can start to adjust our box and create our mesh. Let's see first how we can add more mesh. I'll open this window here to make it more comfortable and go to Edges. Adding mesh is quite simple. You just need to select the edges you want to connect, radial or linear, and look for an option called Connect, which is here. Simply select these edges, connect, and we get a new segment. Ctrl Z to remove it. Now we can also do it by going to Settings. Here you can select a number and then move it wherever you want. So you should create a mesh as you need it. In this case, I'm going to edit the front part. I'll go creating the shape, connect here, put in a 2 for example, and start editing. Now we have this side in place. Go back to Edges, select these, and connect. But only one. Go to Vertices, and we're going to make all that we've connected be right in the middle. We could have done this before to make things easier. Remember, select Vertices. You need to make a selection. If I pressed, I'd only be selecting this point, but if I make a selection, then both are selected. Let's move all of them to point 0 of the x-axis. Okay, there we go. Go to Polygon, select all the sides and delete. So now we have our side. We can add the symmetry if we wanted to, now by selecting Flip. Now it's in place, go back to Edit Poly and continue editing if you needed to finish the shape of the head. Let's go to the side view and start to edit from here. Press Alt-X to get that transparent appearance, so it's easier to see what we are doing. Let's carry on. Okay, something like that. Now it's starting to look more like a head. We can now add the horns to the model. Remember that this right side is the symmetry. It's not editable. We only have the left side. Go to this polygon, where we're going to learn something new. I'm going to show you how to create a quadrangle inside another one. So our mesh is always made up of quadrangles. We're going to reduce the space of this polygon by making an inset. It's this option here. If we go to Settings, we can get a more precise calculation and see how our quadrangle is created inside another quadrangle, and we can increase this mesh. Let's make an inset of this size and hit OK. And we have it. Another thing I want to show you is Extrude and Bevel. This is what we'll use to create our horn. In Settings, select Extrude and let's see how it works. If you drag, see how it pulls out geometry from the selection that we already have. You can do it inwards or outwards. Bevel works in the same way, except that it increases or reduces to create a different effect. We'll use Extrude first. We'll take it to about here and hit OK. Okay, let's move on. Here we have Make Planner. If we are editing, as you can see in the front view, this polygon is irregular. It's not completely flat. If we wanted to make a polygon flat, then we'd go to Make Planner. If you press X, it aligns with the X-axis, or you could do it in Y or Z as you need. We are going to do it on the Y-axis and see how it adjusts upwards. Go to the side, and with the vertices, select them, and with scale, reduce the size a little as it's quite big. Okay, let's go again to Polygon. We still have the same one selected as before. We're going to continue dragging geometry upwards. Go to Select and move and extrude again. And we'll use Bevel. Stretch it a bit more and see how it looks from the perspective view. Make it smaller gradually to get the shape of the horn. Make the end of the horn and do this with the bevel. Create it. And as you see, if we go too far with the angle, it looks weird and the geometry overlap each other. So we need to be careful with that. Leave it like this, okay. Go to the scale tool and scale only the y-axis as it's very flat. Something like that. As you can tell, the shape of the horns isn't great, so we need to fix that. Go here, select vertices, and we'll rotate. Select all the ends of the horn and adjust it bit by bit, however much you think is necessary. Remember that we shouldn't move these middle vertices. We'll keep them at point 0 so the symmetry works correctly. You can move them on the y-axis if you want. If yours isn't exactly the same, don't worry. It doesn't have to be an exact copy. We now have the shape of the head, so we'll apply Turbo Smooth and let's see what happens. Okay, so we have something pretty similar. Let's add an iteration, as you know, to make it smoother. You can see that all our mesh is made up of quadrangles. It's correct and it hasn't stretched. It's a good start.